Hunters of Reddit, what did you see out there that made you not want to go back into the woods? Not a hunter, but I go backpacking and fishing quite a bit. I have an irrational fear of bears, and waking up to bear tracks around my camp was quite unsettling, and I did not spend much more time in the area. I've also had a creepy encounter with an overly friendly deer. I was in a pretty isolated area, so I thought it was odd to see a deer that was so calm around humans. This deer would not leave me alone. It walked around my camp all day and came back at night to scare the out of me by laying down outside my tent. Your fear of bears is not irrational at all. Cool deer story. When I went hunting with my dad one time, we saw a homeless-looking guy carrying what looked like a torn cloth and a screwdriver on one of the trail cams. This cam was pretty deep into the woods, and it was no one we knew, so we were pretty creeped out to go back out there. I don't like to jump to conclusions, but that man was obviously going to tie someone up and stab him. I was being watched on the woods. It was the strangest feeling. I got paranoid enough that I began walking all the way to where I knew a park warden was parked. After about 100 meters, I turn around to make sure I wasn't being followed, and I see 3 bears smacking my stuff around. One bear was standing up in the middle of the access road staring right at me. Copperheads. Bow season in KY starts early enough that you can run into a ton of them. I learned my lesson years ago to wait until at least mid-November before venturing out too deep. Went on a camping trip maybe 10 years ago, and in the middle of the night we heard this incredibly loud smack way out on the water. Water carries sound really well, so it woke us all right the F up. My first though was some drunk, deranged motherfucker with a gun was shooting out over the lake, and the sound was a bullet skimming off the surface. Turns out it was a beaver that smacked this out of the water before diving under. It happened again in the early morning and we laughed it off, but the notion of being out in the middle of nowhere with some homicidal prick taking potshots at you creeped me out pretty good. I didn't see it, but hearing my dad say, once we were safely in the car, a wild dog was stalking us that whole time, made me more than a little uncomfortable. The wild dog probably hoped to eat scraps off your kill. They aren't really a match for a grown man, and for the most part they know it. Thought about hunting, went out on a trip with my dad once way back. Middle of the trip, here comes a huge bear strolling right in front of our tree stands. Yeah. I'm not a hunter any longer, was a lustrous 4-hour career though. In Illinois there aren't many predators, but the scream of a bobcat nearly made me pants. It's the same in Utah, except in my case it was a mountain lion. I honestly thought I was listening to someone getting murdered. My dad's childhood friend was killed in a hunting accident. He was shot right out of his tree stand on state land. This was back in the late 1980s, when I was young. Nobody ever turned themselves in, and I doubt from the angle, caliber that they ever even found the bullet. To this day, his murder is unsolved. After that, my mom forbade my dad to go hunting, and by extension, me. I hear too many stories of people getting pissed drunk and doing stupid things with guns in the woods anyway. I'm lucky enough now to own 10 acres of property where I can take a deer just about every year with a shotgun, but I don't think I will ever hunt on state land. Hunting accident. This happened today actually. I work in the utility sector, and while working remote transmission lines I saw a sign that said, "Don't enter the woods." Proceed to walk down the right-of-way and notice something in the woods. It was a wooden gallows that had 2 dummies dressed in black that were hung. I was younger hunting in the woods with my dad. We got in the woods just before dawn when it was still dark out so we could get in our tree stands. All of a sudden, we hear banshee screams from a bush a few feet from us. Turns out it was a startled fox. That day I found out the answer to "What does a fox say?" Demonic screeches. Only thing I've seen out in the woods that bothered me was a fox in a trap. Judging by the state of the snow around it, it had been there 3 days. It was still alive though, poor guy. Another hunter in my party put it out of its misery. No name, address tag on the trap. Check your damn traps.